Yeah. So when I first got there, for some reason, I don't know what was going on, but my swing just wasn't it. Like, I was ashamed. I was like, the coach is gonna be like, what have I recruited? But it's like, it happens to everybody. I feel like the first week that everybody's kind of messed up. Maybe you haven't played in a few weeks, you're packing, you're getting ready. But then things just kind of clicked after like a month. There have been times where I've felt like, okay, I wish the class wasn't so small, but that's because I didn't want to go to class. So, I mean, negative feeling, but positive like outcome because I should go to class.
This is All Things College and Life. Hi, Ahika. Welcome. Thanks for joining me today. And it's excited to have another student athlete here today. And obviously, you're at Lewis and Clark College. You've finished your first semester now. So great to catch you during your winter holidays and talk a little bit about your experience. So thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So, Aika, why don't we start with how the whole college experience has been in this year of 2024? You've gone from high school into college, and now you can perhaps reflect back on that experience. So, would love to hear about what the journey has been like for you.
Yeah. So I took a gap year after school. So it was like a year of well not doing nothing, but like, not doing as much and then going into college where you're, playing a sport, you're meeting new people and you're doing academics. But I think it was great for me. Like I realized like the more I have on my plate, the better I'm doing. So I really like starting off college, I met great people and I liked my professor. I liked my classes. The coach was great. The program is great. So I feel like it's been a good journey for me. Um, Maybe like the starting, like applying to college and like that whole bit was the rocky bit.
Hmm.
But once I got there, I feel like it was mostly smooth sailing.
Great. And you mentioned about that bit being the rocky bit. So tell me more about that. How is that journey? Or what was the rocky bit exactly?
It wasn't, there's nothing specifically rocky about it, but applying to college is like already like, kind of, I mean, of course you're anxious, you're deciding where to spend the next 4 years of your life. So, just like those decisions, like the Zoom calls, the emails, the meetings with coaches, and then like like I was talking to a certain coach who then transferred like by last minute. So, that was an option that was taken away from me. So that was, like not the best feeling. But I applied early decision, so it was like way less anxiety for me than it is for other people because they have to actually decide between so many schools, and different offers and stuff. But like for me, I feel like I kind of knew where I wanted to go, which made it like it wasn't that hectic for sure.
Fair enough. But of course, I mean, I always say this that when you're a student athlete versus when you're not applying as a student athlete, the biggest difference is that most of the students who are working in the academic piece, they start
Mhm.
getting so stressed when the application time comes. And
Yeah,
then when they're waiting for decisions, and then there's acceptances, rejections. But the anxiety levels aren't that high early on in the journey. They
yeah,
just become really high when, decisions are coming out. Versus for student athletes, it's the complete opposite. The anxiety levels start to go up and down because you're doing coach communication and you're getting positive responses, you're getting negative responses. You feel like sometimes, the negative responses can make you feel, okay, you're not like, you don't deserve that certain college. But I think because you've been through that process, now you're committing to a certain college, and there's a high chance that you will get into that college then. So I think the
yeah.
anxiety levels for student athletes versus non-athletes end up just having different phases. That's fair.
Yeah. The good
And
part about being, oh,
yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
no, no, go ahead.
It's like you know what you're getting into. You speak to a coach, so the coach is upfront with you about what your chances are. So it's like there's no long period of anxiety of like, will I get in, won't I get in? It's pretty. He'll tell you what your chances are, even academically, like for the most part. You can do those like readings or something, which
Period.
I think
Yeah.
is yeah those pre-reads, which is really helpful.
Yeah. Awesome. Good. I mean, you got to the college you wanted to eventually. And
Yeah.
one thing I think, which in all honesty, even I had forgotten right now until you mentioned the gap year, is of course you chose to take that gap year. And I think
Mhm.
we started working together just a little bit before that. We had a conversation, but I remember talking to your dad also because we had connected sometime in December of your actual grade 12 when it was going on. And then we were discussing that
Yeah.
what are the chances that we will get something good now versus what are the
Mhm.
chances if we take a gap year and then wait for that. And obviously, from my end, the chances are going to be better if with the gap year because we were quite late in the day at that point. But was that the only reason that you decided to take a gap year, or were there other reasons for you as well?
I think the gap year was a big part of it was like during COVID, I didn't really play golf. So, and we decided last minute that, okay, I want to go play golf in college. So then obviously to get recruited means you have to email coaches early, send out scores, etc. I wanted to play tournaments as well. And then also like I didn't know what I wanted to study in college. So the gap year was a good way to get some insight into that. I remember I did some courses and it really figured out what I wanted to do. I took a few like coding classes and stuff, which was like really helped me in college. Like I'm glad I did that for sure. Yeah.
That's great. And what's your academic major right now?
I mean, technically I'm undeclared, I think, because you declare
Got it.
in junior year beginning, but I'm CS and math. It's one major though. So yeah.
Yeah. But I remember we were also exploring a lot of other courses as well. There was math for a bit, there was
Yeah.
CS, we were exploring economics. So good. You slowly figure that out through
Hmm.
the journey as well. And
Yeah.
now coming to Lewis and Clark. So how is the transition process perhaps, going from we touched upon the fact that I think you were a little eager also to get to college because you were on a gap year and just get back into a
Yeah.
classroom setting and professors have been nice.
Hmm.
Uh, but what was the whole transition process like more from like an emotional standpoint because you're going far away and it's a new environment. It's not like Mumbai that you've been used to. It's a smaller school, it's a smaller city. So how is that transition process for you?
Because I had so long to prepare for it emotionally, it wasn't really. I mean, I had been preparing for it. So it wasn't that hard because I knew what I was getting into. I prepared myself. I was like I knew I was gonna put myself out there. Make as many friends as I could. Like join. I didn't really join any class, but like I was like, okay, I'll probably go join clubs. I'll make as many friends as I can, talk to as many people as possible. Um, I like that it's a small school. I think it's way easier to make friends with it being a small school because you meet someone once and then you meet them like you run into them again and like the third time you can actually be like, do you want to actually hang out? Or it's just I really like that bit. Socially it's less intimidating for sure. But I remember first international students came down and athletes were there, then freshmen, and then the entire school. So the first weekend when the entire school was in the dining hall, I was like really overwhelmed because it's a lot of people and it's a lot of people who are very different than the people I know. Um, so it can be overwhelming for sure. You're meeting like like I feel like almost everyone I've met is just very 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 different from me. Um, which I think is good because again like smaller school, you're kind of forced to form connections with people you might not have originally thought to form a connection with, which I think is great because it really like it's cliche to say, but it does widen your perspective when you talk to people who are different than you. And I enjoyed being a small school. It's socially I think it made things easier for sure.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. And I really like the fact that you mentioned that you went in with an attitude and a mindset that I'm going to make friends. I'm going to participate in different campus activities, join clubs.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great approach. And I don't know how many students go into college with that approach. I know a lot of them will, but a lot of them will not have that approach at all. So I'm sure if you're going in with that mindset that I want to make friends, you're sometimes seeking out friendships and you make friends easily as well. I'm sure by now you
Mhm.
would have a great, uh, a lot of friend circles and like a good support system. I'm assuming based on what you've shared.
Mhm. Being from a city like Mumbai, it's like here, you don't expect to see anyone you know when you step out. But there, I step out to get a snack from the vending machine at 2 a.m. And there's people I know, like literally everywhere you go. So but that's
Yeah.
a good thing or a bad thing, whether however you look at it. But yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It is a good thing and a bad thing. It's just how you want to look at it because in
Yeah.
bigger schools, you can sort of disappear a little bit into the crowd as well. But
Mhm.
smaller schools, definitely, like you said, you're
Yeah.
forced to sort of make those connections and, nurture some friendships as well, which I personally
Mhm.
think at that age of like 18 to 22 is a great thing to have and it's a great skill to develop. You're learning how to make new friends because you're kind of used to making friends up till school level, and how often do
Yeah.
you make new friends in grade 11, grade 12? Typically your friends from early days are your friends later on as well. So this is like the first real opportunity where you have to get out of that and now make new friends going forward. So I think it's a great skill building piece of it, piece as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I was just gonna ask, how have things been on the before coming to golf? How have things been on the academic front for you? How did you find classes, and how was the first semester from that perspective?
So, I had a good semester academically, but it's also like I kind of wanted to make sure I would, so I didn't take really like I took kind of easier classes. Like I took Calc 1, which I mean actually I feel like I should be in like Calc 2, but I just wanted to, build that up again. So um I liked my classes. They're very small classes, which I think is good because I don't think I could motivate myself to go to class if it was like a 400-person lecture hall. But here it's like my professor knows me. If they see me walking around campus, they'll be like, "Why weren't you in class?" So, the small class sizes are like actually good. They kind of force you to do your work and go to class. And then, um, I took mostly subjects for my major, and then there's one subject that you kind of have to take, like as freshmen, you have to take like a core class. So there was that. But it was like okay, finals week was hard. Like the last month kind of got kind of started piling up really fast. So finals week was a little rough, but overall the semester was pretty nice. It was not nothing too hectic or chaotic.
Great. And how many, like, because obviously it is a liberal arts school, there is a core curriculum in place, but
Yeah.
were you taking more classes towards what you want to declare your major in, or were
Mhm.
there mostly core classes that you have to take? And you can even talk about perhaps going into the next semester, what your schedule looks like.
Okay. So this semester I took CS1, Calc 1, Introduction to Data Science, and I took because I'm thinking of minoring in data science, and and then I had to take the core class that they have. So this isn't just a general education requirement. Like we have those as well, but those you can take whenever you want. You can spread them out over your 4 years. But this was like freshmen have to take it. So this one was numbers. The next semester I'm doing a core words class, and I'm taking CS2, Calc 2, and a history class, which I'm doing the emergence of modern South Asia, which should be fun. Yeah, that's kind of like for my history done for the requirement.
Makes sense. Nice. And you talked about like the smaller class settings as well. So obviously in a smaller school that ends up being a huge advantage. But do you feel again at any point have you felt like, this is a disadvantage because now the professors and teachers know you and know your name all the time.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to be accountable as well. You can't hide in a classroom.
Mhm.
So has that been a positive experience, or sometimes you feel like, no, I would rather be in a bigger classroom where I can, disappear?
Um, there've been times where I've felt like, okay, I wish the class wasn't so small, but that's because I didn't want to go to class, right? So, I mean, negative feeling, but positive like outcome because I should go to class.
Yeah.
Um, so there are certain classes where, the professor doesn't really care. Like my CS professor, he didn't take attendance. It didn't matter if you really went to class or not, as long as you did your work. So I don't
Makes
think,
sense.
like, I think because I like my professors, it's easier to show up and to do good work for them. So I don't think I've ever felt like it's never really, I've never felt like, oh, I wish this was a bigger class because maybe it's because these are easy classes. I like them. So it's, it's easy to go. But yeah.
Yeah. Good. I like the way you put it, that it's a negative feeling sometimes, but it's still a positive outcome. So, and I think there's that famous quote and famous saying that, you have to sometimes be put in this uncomfortable zone to really grow. So that's kind of what it is, that it is uncomfortable because you have to participate in the classroom. You can't hide, but it's doing you good at the end of the day. So that's great as well.
Mm.
Awesome. What about on the
Yeah.
golf front? Obviously, I know that, I think you got Conference Player of the Week at one point. You've
Mhm.
got a lot of awards internally from the team as well. And I mean, just getting that conference award, being recognized that way is also a pretty big deal. But how has the golfing experience been? Again, going from India to the US, playing over there, tournament style can be different, courses can be different. So would love to hear about that piece as well.
Yeah. So when I first got there, for some reason, I don't know what was going on, but my swing just wasn't it. Like I was ashamed. I was like, the coach is gonna be like, what have I recruited? But it's like it happens to everybody. I feel like the first week that everybody's kind of messed up. Maybe you haven't played in a few weeks. You're packing. You're getting ready. But then things just kind of clicked after like a month. But my first tournament, I was sick and it was raining and it was cold and it was a match play tournament, which means there's no way I couldn't play because we were going like one against one, and you have to have like an even number of players. So I had to play in the cold rain, and it was like raining like heavily, and that wasn't a great experience because I didn't play well. I mean, I got myself slack for it because I was sick, but it's like your first tournament, it's going down, it's going in the books. But I think I don't know how my coach was super like nice about it. I didn't have to hear anything negative. It was great. The team is great. We kind of just moved on, and then the next tournament was really good. And then like the tournaments just kept getting better as it went along. So uh, I had a good season that way. I I think like practice schedules and everything is just like it was really helpful for me to and also to like practice with the team, to work out with the team, all of those things. It keeps you motivated, it keeps it like fun, and it never feels like a chore. Um, and
Like you're
I
alone in
think,
this.
yeah, or like you're alone in this,
Yeah.
exactly. Because no one, if anyone has a bad round, no one ever holds it against them. Even though like it might cost you the win, it's still like we've all been there. Like everyone's been there, everyone's had really bad rounds. So, um, and the girls team only has 6 players, and 5 people play. And so like I've kind of been we've played in every tournament. Um, so that does get hectic because it's like you're playing a tournament and then the next weekend you have like you're missing school for tournaments. Then you have practice rounds on the weekend and then you're missing school like almost every 2 weeks. So it's like a little bit hectic, but we got used to it. And the weather was good for the first like while that was happening, so that made things easier.
Yeah. Great. You touched on a good point there, that it does get hectic and you're traveling pretty often, which means you're missing college as well. Uh, Now, I'm sure your professors and all understand why you're missing but
Yeah.
you still, the onus is kind of still on you to
Yeah.
make up for the classes and the missed time. So how has that balancing act been? Because I'm sure like it's easy while you're in college, but what if when you're traveling, you're actually out of the class? How are you sort of making up for that lost time?
Yeah. So it's easy. Like we all say, oh, we'll study after the round, we'll do our homework, we'll bring our homework with us, we'll do it. But you've just played 18 holes. You've not had, I mean, it's a long day of traveling, playing, and then, the whole team is hanging out and who's actually going to pull out a book? So, it's a little like when we're traveling for sure, it's a little bit hard to stay on track because then, you end up leaving the work for the day it's due or something, which is, not ideal. But I was actually more on track, I'd say, during season than when off season started because I don't know, having more things to do just keeps me like more accountable. And so
Yeah.
um it was it wasn't that hard, thankfully, because again, my classes weren't that hard, and then it's things like math and CS. It's not like I have to write a whole essay. Like I can do math and code when I'm in a bus or something like that. So, um, I I don't think I didn't struggle with it that much during season, but then actually like after when everything classes got harder as well, it kind of started piling up more for me, which is
Yeah.
I thought it was very ironic that I was struggling more later.
Makes sense. But that's interesting. And I think you mentioned this earlier also that when you have more on your plate, you're probably doing better. And I
Yeah.
think some people work that way as well because you just get more of a push to get things done because there's so much to do that
Mhm.
you can't really afford to waste time.
Yeah.
Uh, and that's a very interesting point that you mentioned. I was doing this with another student athlete like you who is also at a liberal arts school, and she actually mentioned that one of the seniors who is there, junior or senior, uh, she is actually somebody who always pulls out a book after the tournament. Like they'll be sitting together and she'll start studying, and then all the younger ones just look at her, and then they all start studying. So as you were saying this, I was just remembering that like wow, it's such a different experience. You're both at D3, you're both like playing at strong liberal arts colleges. Uh, but one experience can be so different just because one or two people decided that, oh, let's study, versus in a
Yeah.
different group, it can be, okay, I think we need to relax and we need to take it easy.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, when I was in college, I was on your side. I always used to, carry the books, but then again, everyone was like, relaxing after the game. Then that you don't want to be that person that I'm gonna miss out on team bonding now and leave this group and now go in my room and study separately. So I completely get that, but it's just very interesting to me how two very distinct
Yeah.
experiences and what I've heard.
I blame the coach. He booked Airbnbs with us that have like hot tubs and like it's like he
Wow.
booked one that's like on the beach. So yeah, we're gonna we're
Wow.
gonna go to the beach.
Definitely.
Um,
If your coach hears this, basically they need to be booking worse hotels
no,
than
we love the Airbnb.
fair. Good. And I actually want to know, we're talking about this balance, we're talking about, things getting hectic. And of course, you'll be seeing other students in school. I'm sure they'll be getting involved in other activities, not a student athlete, but could be involved in other clubs and frats and sororities, whatever it may be. But I'm sure this question sometimes would come into your mind that, is this worth it? Like, why am I doing this? Or you know why you're doing this and you're loving it. How do you feel about
The
that when you
question comes up when it's like 6:30 and my roommate is sleeping and like I have to go to lifts where that or like I don't get to like we don't get to eat breakfast because the dining hall doesn't open until after our practice or lifts or whatever, and then we have class. So then like if it's raining and it's really cold and you still have to go practice, that those times, I mean, I don't question it. I don't love it, but I don't question why I do it. I think like being a student athlete has been, I mean, just seeing like my experience versus my peers, I think it's definitely worth it. Like it kind of keeps you in track. I feel like it kind of keeps your life like like it forces you to be balanced. It forces you to be disciplined.
Oh.
Um, and like I'm not saying, like student athletes also party. Like they probably party the hardest, but it's like it's it can be hard, but I think it just gives you a lot of things that you wouldn't get being just a student.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of free time, and the free time is great, but you get bored, and then it's I just think it's more productive for your mind and for your body to be an athlete. Because you eat right, you sleep well for the most part. You're doing all your things, which is good.
Love it. I have the same philosophy still, so that's great. I always believe, like, for most student athletes, it's that life just keeps chasing you in it, or you keep chasing it, whatever you wanna, however you wanna put it. But it sort of keeps up, like, as you go into life post college, that balance will get lost, and that happens to everybody. But you're always trying to get balanced again. You're always trying to find that sweet spot where you can, do what you have to do in terms of work and make a living out of it. But then how do you still keep a sport alive and keep that going? So that's great. Everything that you shared, I resonated that fully as well. Cool. So academics we've discussed, golf we've discussed. One last thing that I wanted to ask you, Aika, is like, I wanted to know more about Portland. And, I think you're maybe 20, 25 minutes away from the city, if I'm not wrong. But tell me more about, like, the city, how it is as a place, and also the access to the city from the college, how often you all end up visiting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, uh, like freshmen aren't allowed to have cars on campus, but like the golf team is because our practice facility is off campus. So most of my teammates have cars, which makes it like way easier to get into the city. That being said, I haven't gone into the city like that much. Probably I've gone more than like other freshmen,
Yeah.
but I think Portland's a beautiful city. There's so much. I mean, there's quite a bit to do. I won't say there's so much to do, but like again, coming from a huge city like Mumbai, it's not gonna like it does feel like a small city, but I feel like that's a good thing. Like there's still ample like cafes and a lots of gardens. Like natural beauty is like a big thing there. Um, so as a team, we do go off campus sometimes, and to go to like the stores and things like that. We went to like a mall a couple of times. So that's great. But then again, if you don't have a car, it is definitely harder. But
Mm.
the school does offer like a shuttle, but the shuttle takes way longer than a car would take, like probably double the amount of time. And then it's hard. The sun sets at like 4:30 in the winter, so it's like
Mm.
you don't want to be out to like you have to be able to know that you have a safe way to get home.
Sure.
And Portland is not exactly the safest city. Like it has like a little bit of a problem right now with homeless people. So it's like you want to you'd rather have a car with you. That would probably be
Yeah.
best.
Or you don't want to be out in dark hours. How long does the
Yeah,
it's interesting that the college provides the shuttle, but how long does that typically take?
like how long does it run till?
Or like, how long does it actually take for you to get to Portland? And then, yeah, even
Uh,
how often does it run?
Probably an hour. I would probably
Got it.
take an hour. I think it runs also like every 2 or 3 hours, maybe three
Nice.
hours. But it does run till quite late. Like I've seen it come back at like 9 or 10, and it runs on weekends. It's a pretty good thing to have, for
Yeah.
sure. And then there's a TriMet stop that you can walk to. So I've taken the TriMet, and it's pretty useful for sure. I got lost in the city once, in the night with my phone dead.
Oh no.
So that was a great experience to have. But yeah, now after that, I feel way more brave now. I I know the city now. I take the buses and stuff.
Yeah. Do you
So
go to the
yeah.
city on your own, or do you try and have people with you?
No, I go with people. I've never tried to go on my own.
Yeah. I think that's the
My
best
parents also were like,
best
don't do it.
policy. Yeah.
And if the sun sets at 4, and I probably like I'm not I have classes in the day, so like chances are like I'm gonna be out past 4. So
Yeah.
you're going to be out in the night. So
Yeah. Good.
Mhm.
That sounds great. Cool, Aika. This has been nice. It's been good for me also to learn about how your journey is going. I know sometimes we exchange WhatsApps, but there's only so much I can learn on message also. But I'm sure this is going to be useful for younger students also. So thank you for doing this.
Of course, it's been great.
Awesome. Wishing you the best for 2025 and also your next semester. I hope you keep killing it, keep getting some conference awards and all like you
Thank
did
you.
this semester. Awesome. All right. Thanks, Aika.
Okay.
If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure you subscribe, like, and comment. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Instagram.